Oh boy, this is a big one. Hello and welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. Today's video is an absolute unit. I've been wanting to make this video for quite a while. Tarkov is such a brutal game, you constantly get smashed, but knowledge is everything. I've been playing for a few years, over 3,000 hours. I've died in every possible conceivable way, but I have learned a lot. I decided to put together the ultimate tips video, obviously mainly for new players, but there are a lot of things in here that experienced players can pick up. Tarkov is such a deep game, there's always things to learn or be reminded of. The goal of this video is to help us all become better players, so I've put together over 270 Tarkov tips. Yeah, 270, that's a lot. So we better get going. Tips aren't in any order really, but they are categorized. If you find this helpful, please share it with a mate, like, subscribe. And first up, we're just going to jump into some gameplay basics. So let's go. Bind the check extract to just single tap O. Remove the double tap. There's no reason you'd ever want to check just the time. You might as well check the time and see the extracts at the same time. If you're planting multiple things in the exact same place, sometimes it can be really annoying to plant and then you have to wait and look around and move to try and get the prompt to come up to plant again. But if you just quickly press tab and tab again, the prompt will be there right away. So you can instantly start planting the next item. If you're looting and you can lay down, dead bodies can block bullets. So loot inside the body can be huge. It has saved me a few times. If you are running to the exit and you're not going to make it in time, throw your gear on the floor. So if you go missing in action and the gear is on your person, on your PMC, you will not get that gear back through insurance. It's a funky thing. I don't know why Tarkov does this, but if you just throw it on the floor, it's fine. So if you're going to go MIA and the timer's running out and you're not in the extract, throw your shit on the floor, then you'll get it back through insurance. Early wipe, use your scav as much as you can. In between every PMC raid, do a scav raid. I like to just go into like reserve, sometimes at night, in, loot, out. Don't mess around. Just get in, fill whatever backpacks you've got, maybe a little bit of min-maxing, but just get in, get out. You'll make loads of money on a reserve run, especially early wipe. If you've been in a big fight, sometimes it's worth swapping your front plate and your back plate if they're the same type. Most bullets are going to come for the front probably, so if your front plate is nuked, see if you can swap it for the back plate. The back plate might be good. It's kind of like coughing over a fart, but you can use voice lines to cover the sound of like pulling out a grenade and the pin sound. Give that a go. If you've been running and your character's making that out of breath sound, you can cut the sound short by ADSing and holding your breath. So sunglasses normally are pretty cool, but in Tarkov they're kind of like the anti-drip because in certain lighting situations, in certain fog situations, some sunglasses will show up like crazy. They'll be like super dark against a kind of a misty background. They've fixed a bunch of these, but I still see from time to time some glasses doing this. So be careful when wearing sunglasses. I mean, you might look cool, but it ain't cool if you're dead. Any contact is better than nothing. You will hear a little bit further, you'll hear more detail, and you'll hear little rats in bushes outside of buildings. I personally like a consistent headset, so I tend to sort of always run a kind of mid-tier headset and just run that consistently for the entire wipe. Always check things like duffel bags and dead scavs because duffel bags can have any loot in them. Like, I think they have like the entire loot pool inside them. They can just have anything. And dead scavs can have all kinds of good things on them. So they're worth checking. You never know. Ground Zero is a great beginner map in my opinion. I think it has almost everything in Tarkov in sort of small doses for you to learn all the mechanics. But I definitely would say you should try and learn one map at a time. So maybe Ground Zero, then Customs and Woods, I would say would probably be the next two after Ground Zero. But try and learn one map at a time. Bosses literally shit themselves at the thought of a flashbang. So if you're hunting a boss and you know his like spawn locations, just start winging flashbangs everywhere. They'll usually shout a big voice line and they'll relocate. So easy to find, easy to check if the boss is even in the area. Just throw flashbangs. They literally shit themselves and they can't help but yell about it. Use scavs as a warning, a little beacon. Don't just kill them. If you're in an area and a scav has an aggro to you, there's no need to kill them. They kind of act as like a sentry. So if they drop, they yell at somebody else. Yeah, use these guys as a warning system. You don't always need to kill every scav you see unless you've got a quest, obviously. But I leave these boys up if I don't need to kill them because they are a great warning system for me. Watch out for bait. If you're up against a duo or a group of players, sometimes you'll notice that one of the players in the team might start making a lot of noise, a lot of voice lines, a lot of run forth, and a lot of time what that means is that he's making a lot of noise because he's masking the noise of his friend who's flanking you and about to come and shoot you in the ass. So watch out for bait and unusual behavior. if there's a new map that I don't know that well, or if there's an expansion to a map, I will go offline and I will just go run around for an hour, half an hour, just figure out the extracts, see what's going on, get a vibe for it, get a feel for it. Definitely use the offline mode. This is separate to PvE. This is a literal just practice mode, and you could even turn off the AI if you just want to learn the map. But use this feature, really powerful. Help you gain some knowledge before you step into a live server. Scavs love to fuck your shit up at the worst possible times, so even if you're avoiding PvP area, you're kind of just there to do a little task planter thing, always wear some body armor. Even if it's just a class 2 packer, that might stop some buckshot. Like, never don't wear body armor, because that time you don't wear body armor, you will get clocked in the thorax by a buckshot scav.
Смотрит из technical stuff. Можете написать, сколько осталось дропов?
Always wear a balaclava, simply because as humans we're good at spotting faces, and your just skin tone will stick out against all the background and all your armor that's probably pretty dark, so try and always wear a balaclava. If you're hunting the goons, they rotate across 4 different maps. We recently went for Kappa and we used Goon Hunter to just tell us which map the goons are on, so we're not wasting our time on a map they're not even spawning on. Really helpful website. Scavs and bosses aggro from a far shorter distance at night, so depending on what you're trying to do, it might be better to go at night. Pay attention to signs in the environment. Most things are marked, but BSG do love to fuck you over sometimes, so look at where the mines are on streets, lighthouse, and like the safe room on ground zero. Some examples of places where there aren't really any markings that you're going to get blown to fuck. Make sure you know, not just by the environmental markers, because they will point out border snipers and mines, but also there are some sneaky things that BSG love to do where they will blow you up if you don't know where they put these explosives. If you're playing with friends, it's really important to have solid callouts, so definitely learn the common callouts for all the maps if you can, or the ones you're playing on. There are dorms, there are stronghold, there are crack house, there are whatever, old gas, new gas. These callouts are so important to really quickly make sure everyone's on the same page and we're all looking in the same direction, fighting the same people. If you want to be a good partner, here's some solid relationship advice. But if your buddy dies in the raid, hide their stuff for insurance. Hide their backpack, armor, gun, helmet, contact. But do take their ammo, their grenades, their meds. They won't get any of that shit back. If you're running a bolty or sniping, make sure to bring back a pistol or a little SMG, something, even like a little Kedda, anything. I've saved myself so many times by having a cheeky 5.7 in my pocket when I get pushed up on top of the mountain in woods and I'm running a bolty. But yeah, having that little 5.7, yeah, really makes a huge difference. It's worth it. Sunglasses you wear can actually help against flashes. So depending on where you go, factory is quite a common place for people to do the flashbang tasks. So it's like kill PMCs while they're flashed. Factory could be a place worth running glasses that reduce flashbang, because I have been flashed to oblivion into the shadow realm multiple times on factory. Tapping into some of the scav mindset here, but if you have no backpack and you're on a map like reserve interchange where there is a no backpack exit, head over there. You'll probably find a backpack. I found backpacks in no backpack exit loads of times. And if I'm on a scav with a shit backpack or no backpack, it's been so good to go over there, find a backpack, and then play a nice raid. You can press caps to toggle between the fastest speed and the lowest speed you've set. You can actually set this like slightly higher than the slowest, and you can sort of toggle between those. Really nice if you're clearing buildings, you want to manage your speed. So you can use free look when running across gaps to sort of see into rooms to the right of you or something. So say there's an enemy in a room and you run past the doorway, you can free look to the right, look inside the doorway. If you're going to go back the other way, move your head height. So what I'm saying is, if you run across the doorway and then you're going to go back, jump back. Because if someone runs across a doorway, I don't know about you, but I'm going to put my sight where their head was, because that's where I'm going to try and hit. So if you jump, you can probably save yourself if you have to jump back. So just think about that, moving your head height when you're jumping across gaps, if someone's going to have an angle on that position. If you're searching dead scavs and bodies, the XP amount that shows in the bottom right will actually be higher depending on how good the loot is that the body has, without you having to search the whole thing. So if it's in the couple hundreds, that means they've probably got something really good and it's probably worth checking. Some people somehow don't realize this, but you can actually hold your breath while aiming. I rebound mine to shift. I think by default it's alt. You don't need to stand in the car extract the entire time after you've paid. As long as you're in the car extract, the second it leaves, you're good to go. You can also check the exfils. It will have a timer to let you know, so you can get in there in time. But don't get cocky. I have missed my car extracts before because I've been too far away and I thought I had time and I didn't. Don't get caught out by how quickly that timer moves. But you don't need to sit in it the entire time. When you're checking your extracts, you can actually get some additional information. So you can see if someone's taking the car extract, because the timer will be going, it'll be green. You can also see if some things are powered. So you can tell if someone's turned on power at interchange because different extracts will go green. And also, I've killed people before because I've seen a car extract is green, and I've just thrown a grenade over there and I've killed people in like the dorm's car extract before. So it is worth quite often just checking the extracts because it'll give you some information about what's going on in the map sometimes. So insurance isn't just good for when you died and your friend hides your gear, but also if you kill a PMC and he has equivalent or better gear, hide your gear in a bush or in like a a cupboard. Take their gear, and that means you're taking less risk at that point. In that raid, your gear is kind of safe, right? No one's going to find that, but if you die, you just lost the guy's gear who you killed. So play the system and use insurance fraud to your benefit whenever you can. Currently, the only difference between Bear and USEC is the starting gear. USEC starts with like M4s, Bear starts with some AKs, but USECs will take less aggro to rogues on Lighthouse currently. This might change in the future, and there might be a map with the opposite effect where bears take less aggro from something on a different map, but right now it's just the gear and USECs take a bit less aggro on Lighthouse. You can climb down really steep cliffs by holding back as you slide down. If it's really bad, you can actually sprint into the cliff as you slide down, and that can save you. You don't need to stay close to a tracker once you've planted it. It will keep counting down as you walk away. Someone else could pick it up, but the likelihood is so low, I wouldn't worry about it. If you die as a PMC, there's a small chance you get back into that same raid as a scab. I've done it a couple of times. It's very rare, but you could go avenge yourself and get your gear back. Don't reload after 2 bullets. This isn't Call of Duty. Make sure you don't have blinkers on. If you're running across open ground or through gaps, use free look to the left and right when you're running around. The boss Partisan, or Parmesan as everyone calls him, hunts down PMCs who have a low PMC karma and spend too much time not moving or in the same area. Also beware he can spawn very close to you, and sometimes he'll place tripwires around the perimeter. A Sam will play when you are dropping PMC karma. We don't fully understand how PMC karma works right now, and I'm sure more information will come out in the future. Bleeding actually drops on the floor, meaning you could potentially track a bleeding enemy. Be wary of tripwires. The wire is physics-based, and anything that hits it will trigger it. Could be a bullet, could be a backpack. This is kind of a rare one. I don't see this that much anymore, but misdirection with like a flashlight on the floor. So you could put a flashlight on a shit gun, chuck it on the floor, and it will really throw people off. If someone's swinging your corner in dorms and there's just a flashlight on the side of the thing, they're going to really freak out. You can do a lot of misdirection with flashlights if you're willing to set it up. After you've killed, check the plates. Sometimes the plates might be toast. Sometimes the armor might look amazing, but it's actually shit. It might look shit, but it's actually amazing. Sometimes people hide really good plates in shitty armors. So a lot of times it is worth checking the plate after a kill. So be careful of throwing items into the Shadow Realms. What I mean is, sometimes you could try and give your friend a bit of cash for a car extract or like a Bitcoin or some small item, and you throw it onto the floor. But sometimes the floor is actually lower than the visual floor you see, and it can be really hard to actually just loot the item. So if you're going to exchange something small, I would suggest put it in the backpack, drop the backpack, let them search the backpack, and then once they've taken it, get your backpack back. I've lost valuable things to the Shadow Realm a few times. If you have a mouse with a few buttons on it, just make sure you use them. I use my mouse buttons for everything from checking fire mode, shoulder swapping, fixing malfunctions, and all my scope adjustments and changing of the scope position. Knowledge is probably the biggest thing in Tarkov, so you have to learn the exfils and the general paths people might be taking in a raid. For example, customs is a crossover map, so if you spawn on the west, you're going east. If you spawn on the east, you're going west. So be aware of where people can spawn, but also the exfils they're likely to take and the paths players will take. There are a lot of very common paths. People don't just wander everywhere. So this can really help you if you hear noises and set up ambushes and stuff like that, because you know where people are likely to be going. You can actually disarm tripwires and take the grenade. If you do blow up, blame desync. Don't tell BSG this, and I think they've tried to patch it, but I think it's still a thing that sometimes in a backpack exit, you can pick up your backpack the millisecond you extract and you'll have the backpack. They might patch this, but I think you can still do it. If you're playing in a team, don't all loot at the same time. Make sure one of you is covering and take turns covering each other. You do not want to get caught with your heads up your asses when you're looting, because looting's loud and you can't hit anything. So take turns covering your friends and don't all loot at the same time. Try and be aware of the noise you make in a raid. So suppressors are very powerful in this game. Some players will push your gunfire if you're not suppressed. They might set up an ambush for the direction you're going. So if you're aware that you've made a shitload of noise, maybe take a different route to the direct path to where you need to go. Maybe flank around and get an angle on like where you would have gone. You never know, but just be wary of the noise you make in a raid. According to Big Owl, most players don't look up, so use this to your advantage. If you're being pushed into a room and you know you're getting pushed, you could try and get some height. Most players will swing in and look for the crouched guy in the corner. Rarely will we look up. I've died loads of times to a random dude stood on a table because I don't check up. Try and use that to your advantage. Scav rep is very important. Don't shoot friendly scavs. We want to summon our inner John B. He is the friendliest scav in Tarkov. But taking the car can raise your scav rep. If you get above 6.0 scav rep with fence, cars are cheaper, you get better scav gear and no aggro from bosses. And I have had so much fun messing around and baiting PMCs when I've been on my scav with max scav karma. You bait a PMC to come push you on factory and you're just stood next to Tagilla chilling. Tagilla kills the PMC, you get to loot a PMC for free and it's just hilarious. So scav rep is worth it. Don't shoot friendly scav.
Во, скаф карма in action. Невероятно. Мы видим, как we are witnessing the scav on scav cooperation. They are trying to mate, I guess. I don't know. At least they're not killing each other, and this is good. The peace and prosperity in the galaxy.
Car extracts and joint PMC/scav extracts increase your scav rep. Joint extracts will also give you some loot reward from fence. I don't know what the loot pool is. It's usually junk, but you never know. Don't loot mid-fight unless you're desperate for a gun, ammo, grenade, or something healing. If your teammates are at risk, try and stay in the fight. Don't loot mid-fight. Fighting bosses, rogues, and raiders in the open is an absolute no-no. They will absolutely laser you to oblivion. Try to get up close. Try and force them to push you around corners and corridors. Use grenades, flashes. Using grenades and flashes normally always force them to move and run and shout. If you have to fight at range, it needs to be tiny peeks, slow leans, and if they have hit in your direction, don't re-peek. If they've seen you, duck for cover. They are bosses and rogues, raiders. They are savage. They are very accurate. So you got to use every single advantage you can to kill these guys. Try not to slow peek if someone's kind of holding an angle on you. While sometimes you can get kind of lucky with the geometry of the thing and like you can slow peek and they don't see you and you see them. That's less of a thing these days. So if you're gonna peek or you want to swing on a guy, be fast and be unpredictable. You don't want to be too slow, giving the person way too much time to aim on you. Currently, if you interact with a transit exfil, you can't use a normal exfil after that. So if you've interacted with a transit, you need to leave through that transit exfil. They might change this later, but right now if you use the transit, you have to exit through the transit. You can't then go to a normal exfil. If you're looking for the full Sam Fisher experience, a lot of the environmental lights in maps can be shot out. So if you're using nods and you want to keep that advantage you have of seeing in the dark, you can shoot out a lot of lights. A lot of times if I was doing some cool night runs, I might take a little pistol with some cheap bullets just purely to pop out lights and keep it dark. Use your task to check kills. Obviously Tarkov doesn't tell you shit when it comes to if you killed a guy or if someone's doing anything. So there's so many times where I have killed a guy and I didn't even know I killed him, or I thought I killed a guy and I didn't. If you have any info of any task, use it to figure out if the player's dead or not. So if I throw a grenade into a room and I have like the grenade kill, check my task. It hasn't gone up by 1, okay, still alive, and vice versa. So if you have any tasks to check kills of anything, use it to your advantage. It can give you a lot of information. And always check before you go into the raid. So you're not like, oh, was I on 5 or 6? Just check beforehand before you go into the raid. I'm on 5, cool, now we can proceed. If you really want to try even harder for your XP gains, as you and your buddies are about to leave a raid, you could drop your backpack. Everyone could search the backpack. You'll get XP for searching that backpack and then take your backpacks back. This will give you a little bit of XP at the end of a raid if you're really looking to try hard and min-max that XP. You need to be in a raid for at least 7 minutes or get at least 200 XP at the time of this video to not get a run through. Do not insure your gear on labs. There's no insurance on labs. If you have insured gear and you're going into labs, replace it with something that's not insured because you're just wasting your insurance at that point. Make sure you bring money for the car extracts. They are cheap, but also always bring a bit extra. Don't bring the exact amount of money needed for the car extract. When you're in and out of raids taking car extracts, a lot of times you can go into a raid and you've got like, you have half the money you need for the car. Don't be tight. Just bring enough money for like you and your buddies. If you all do that, you'll never not be able to take the car. So that's what we try and do.
Тут just time, вот just time. Many people ask me, Nikita, will be
Next up, we are talking about health and meds, and the first tip, one of the most important tips about health and meds is you can bind 2 heals onto 1 button. So I can bind my number 4 key to a press and a release, and what I can do is set my press to a heavy bleed, and then the release to like an AFAC or an IFAC. So what that will do is it will prioritize the heavy bleed. So if you have a heavy bleed, it will use the heavy bleed. If you don't have a heavy bleed, it will use the other med. This is so important because you can really take out the panic of healing. Let's say you get shot a few times you're running, you can just go 4, and I know my heavy bleeds are getting sorted. And if that's not there, if that's not heavy bleed, it's going to then sort the light bleed with the IFAK and just heal me. So this is a must for any player. Basically, you can just bind 2 heals to one button. I do this for 4, 5, 6, and you can bind multiple meds to one button, and it's game changer. Because Tarkov is so salty, you basically need to rinse your mouth out after you do anything. So always eat before you drink. So if you eat, you'll actually lose hydration. So if you drink and then eat, you'll lose the hydration you gained from drinking. So always eat and then drink. Stims are really important. They can save your life. So a little TLDR of the best stims, or the stims I use: Zagustin for multiple bleeds. Let's say you just got shredded and you've got like 4 bleeds. Zagustin fixed.
Push to my right. Whoa, 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 whoa. Got him. Oh my god, how am I not dead? Oh, the one time I don't think Zagustin. Oh no, fucking Zagustin, are you kidding me?
If you are absolutely fucking cooked, ETG. It is huge rapid healing across your whole body, and you'll be max health in seconds. SJ6, you can run further, more stamina gain. Mule or Trimadol if you're overweight. If I've been like looting resort and I need to get the fuck out of there and I haven't got much time, I'm probably going to SJ6 and Mule and Trimadol. Like, you can use all 3. You'll be out of there like a beast. You literally will not run out. You could be so overweight and just sprint all the way to the exit. It's crazy. SJ12 can kind of help with the hunger and dehydration. So if you're getting low and you can't find food, SJ12 could save your life. But the one that I think people use the most is probably the Propital. That is one that is the slow heal, and it's a painkiller. That's probably the one you're going to use the most. Morphines are very cheap, they're good. I would always probably have 2 Propitals in my stim case, and then maybe the morphine gets to come with me as a quick action button. But yeah, those are kind of the breakdown of the meds, the stims that I tend to use the most. You see this guy here? You know why he's still fighting? Because he healed his head and his thorax. That is why. So you have to prioritize healing your head and your thorax, because if those go to 0, you will die. Everything else can go to 0 and be blacked out, you won't die. But head and thorax, priority for healing. If you need to CMS, you have to be in a safe area. So you never want to get caught in a med animation. They're really long. If someone pushes you while you're trying to CMS, it's a nightmare. So make sure you painkiller. If you've got blacked out legs, blacked out limbs, painkiller and move to a safer area to CMS. Don't CMS in a sketchy area. Just PK, just painkiller. You don't need to CMS. CMS and Survive 12 are kind of different. A Survive 12 will restore more HP to a blacked out limb than a CMS, but the Survive 12 will take longer. The Survive 12 also will do fractures at the same time, which could save you a bit of time repairing that fracture, but it's something to consider and weigh up the options of a Survive 12 versus a CMS. I personally just run a CMS, but my friend always runs a Survive 12. Another way to min-max some of your XP is not use the post-raid healing with Therapist, but rather use your own medkits in the stash. This can give you XP and level up some skills. I personally never do this. I just heal with Therapist, but this is an option if you want to min-max more XP. Always bring a separate heavy bleed med. You don't want to be bleeding all over your nice medkit. Heavy bleeds use a ton of your medkit. If you have a medkit that's like an IFAK or an AFAK, it's going to use a huge amount of that to heal the heavy bleed. I always bring at least 2 ways to stop a heavy bleed. So I might bring 2 hemostats, or I'll bring a Calic B. If you're desperate for food, drink, or meds, always check dead scavs and even duffel bags. Dead scavs often have food and drink. Well, you used to be able to move, and then you took a bullet to the knee, and now you're fucked, and you can't move and you're limping. You should have taken a pre-med. So make sure before you push for a fight, if you run across open ground or you're doing something risky, pre-med. If you get shot in the leg and you can't run, you are screwed. And that pre-med will keep you running, keep you moving. Unlike in real life, if your PMC doesn't have a little snacky snack every 30 minutes, he basically just dies. So always try and bring food and drink into a raid if it's kind of a big one. You never know when you're going to get into a 20-minute, 30-minute gunfight and you're going to be pinned down and you took a shot to the stomach and now you're dehydrated and hungry. And if you can, if it's a bigger raid, always bring food and drink. You never know. You can choose which body part to heal with the scroll wheel. There are loads of ways to level specific skills if you want. Vitality, you could like hurt yourself, run through a barbed wire fence and heal yourself. Metabolism, you can use a Trimadol to burn energy and then eat and drink to get back up. If you're looking to level any skill, look into it. There'll be a tip or a guide on how to do it and how to level something specific if you need. The stims case is worth it. Therapist has a quest to reward one, but make sure you're not needing the rep with different traders for different reasons. But stim case is very much worth it. You can bring all the stims you need to keep yourself alive, and also you'll have space spare to loot stims, which can be huge, especially if you're somewhere like labs, but there's loads of them. Do not fix that blacked out limb with a CMS or a Survive 12 if you're still bleeding. Everyone's done this. As soon as you fix that limb with a bleed, it will 0 again. Aquamari isn't 1-to-1 use. It's just over 2-to-1. Using 10 there gave me 22 hydration. Great for the early wipe, but the Grizzly medkit also fixes fractures. Not a lot of people know that or realize, but the Grizzly is a great early wipe medkit. Chuck it in your secure container, you're good. Blacked out limbs will spread their additional damage to other limbs. So if you get shot at a blacked out limb, that damage will propagate to other limbs in your body. So if you have a low thorax or head, that could propagate, it could kill you by getting hit in a different body part. If your stomach is blacked out, you'll lose hydration and energy a lot faster. You cannot repair your blacked out thorax or head. If your head or thorax are 0, damage from other limbs, either bleeds or low energy dehydration, could kill you. You can actually survive with a 0 thorax or head. I've had it happen. But if you're in that situation, you are on extremely thin ice. You are literally one tiny thing away from dying. If you have a 0 thorax or head, get the fuck out of that raid.
You know what time it is? Fucking juice time, baby!
Here you go, microwave.
Она будет стримить.
You happy? You happy? Подогрей, мне хлебушка, блядь! You suck microwave. Goddamn pussy!
Right, juice time's over. We're going into inventory and the interface tips. First up is a habit that you have to get into is packing mags and healing while looting. So I've killed a guy, I'm looting his body. Make sure you're packing these mags, topping up your mags, reloading, medding, doing anything you can while looting. You've built a sick gun, you hit assemble, it doesn't assemble, there's no room. Don't worry, if you press tab, you can move the gun, then press tab again, you go back to the gun builder and you can finish it off and assemble it. It also works for insurance. If you get to the insurance page, you're missing something, hit tab, add it back in, hit tab again, you'll go back to the insurance page, insure forgotten items, off you go. If you take off the mag and the pistol grip, guns will take up a lot less space. And if it's a cheap mag, you can just sell it. Take the mag and the pistol grip off, will take up less space in the stash, store more guns. You can install mags instantly while medding. So you're medding, right click, install, done. A little bit of post effects can really help boost clarity. These are some settings that I use. Have a play. With your monitor, it might be different, but it can really help a little bit get more visibility. Backpack Narnia is a mythical, wonderful place. Basically, you can stash backpacks on yourself when looting or in the stash. I usually end up with like a 50 deep backpack Narnia, so just backpacks within backpacks. And normally buried in the very end of the backpack is like some late wipe items I don't need. Maybe it's like a Zabralo that you hand in a request and I got it early and I just stash it in there. Something you don't really care about, you could ditch in there, but Backpack Narnia is a must. Huge optimization of space. Never have to buy a backpack. And if you're looting, take the guy's backpack, put his backpack in yours or throw yours on the floor. But yeah, when looting, you can use tack rigs to take more stuff. So a tack rig might internally have more space than it does the space it takes up. So if you're looting, take the tack rig, shove stuff in the tack rig, can really help you carry more stuff out of the raid. Get used to using alt click and control click to move items quickly. Alt click will equip stuff. Control clicking will put stuff like ammo, mags, grenades into the rig. Everything else will go into the backpack. You can actually hotkey anything in your tack rig or pocket. So you can put a small gun into your tack rig and you could hotkey that gun, grenades, meds, everything. If you want to verify how low the frames on streets really are, there are a few console commands you can use to show the FPS information about performance.
Console command FPS 1, and this little thingy in the right corner will draw your like performance a bit. So better not use the FPS counter. It will lower your FPS.
You can discard items while hovering over other items. So if I grab a item and I'm hovering over where I want to put it, I can hit my discard button, let go, and the new item I can just drop in place. Crafting and hideout can actually be a really good way to make money, but knowing what to craft can be tough, and this changes throughout the wipe. So check the hideout profit page on Tarkov Dev. Really good way to see how to make profit from your crafting. Knowing what items to pick up can actually be really hard, especially if you're going for Kappa, and that is such a late wipe task and you might miss something early on. So when we went for Kappa recently, we used this thing called Tarkov Tracker. Every quest we did, we just filled it in, end of the day, just filled in what items we picked up, what quests we did. And it's a really nice way to know what you still need. You can just look at Kappa and say, oh, I still need these 10 things. And this helps you keep on track of what you need to pick up, what you need to save, what you can sell. So if you're going for Kappa, especially if you're going for Kappa, or you just want to know what items to keep, Tarkov Tracker is a great resource. As you know, getting any information about who's dead and what's happening in Tarkov is just not a thing.
For the hardcore gamers, this is what you want, baby. This is what you want, baby. The hardcore games, you know?
Let's say you're with a team and you die. Go to the profile of the guy who's killed you. If your buddy then kills somebody, you can go back, you can refresh the profile and see if he's got no gear. Because if he's got no gear, that means your mate killed him. That information is so huge. I'd be surprised they don't patch this out at some point. But being able to verify a kill in Tarkov is like a massive advantage. If you've died and your buddy's still alive, don't just go to your stash. Stay on this page with the person's profile, and you need to verify if your friend kills them, because he might kill somebody and it's not that guy, so he needs to stay aware. Use this to your advantage while it's still in the game. Hold control to split ammo into a smaller stack. In the Hall of Fame, displaying dog tags of PMCs you've killed of the opposite faction will give you a small combat skill leveling buff. Gun Wall, Hall of Fame, and the gear rack is actually extra stash space, so use it. Always leave a spare slot in your tac rig for a mag. If there's no room, it will just drop on the floor. You can middle click to inspect items rather than right click and inspect. You can double tap to use items. I've been caught out by this when it first got added to the game, so if you're a bit trigger happy, maybe I'm buying this, but I'm used to it now. But yeah, you can double tap to use a stim, for example, or a med.
Noodles, yes, I've got the noodles. I've got the noodles. Look. Hallelujah. I ate them. Hallelujah. 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 I ate them. What the fuck? I fucking ate them. I double clicked on them and it ate them. What the fuck? What the fucking key? Fuck off. Fuck's sake, I'm changing that now.
Linked and required search are really helpful, so you should learn to use these. Linked is great to find things that attach to the thing you're linking from, and required is good for finding barters or like armor plates, stuff like that. But use linked and required, they're very powerful. I typically like to organize my own stash, but sort stash is now actually pretty good because you can lock and pin items in place, so you can sort everything around it and these things will just stay where they are. Very powerful now. So sort stash is actually decent now. There's a sorting table. If you're trying to jiggle things around in your stash, there is a sorting table. You can move stuff to it and it would be there. You move things around and then go back. If you close the sorting table, everything will just get dumped in your stash. Bind discard to a quick action button. Mine's H. If you're looting somebody or you want to like hide your buddy's shit, I can very quickly go to my mate, just hit H. All his stuff is dumped on the floor. If I need to just, I'm trying to hide his stuff, but I don't have time to actually pick it up. Very good, very handy if you want to quickly just throw stuff on the floor. If you're trying to buy something on the flea market at reset, it can be very hard. So here's a little tip. You can actually press F5 to refresh the page. Then you can click buy and then hit Y. So you don't need to move your mouse. You can just, you know, have your finger on F5 and Y and your mouse over on buy, and you can just go F5, click Y, and you'll buy the thing. That's a very quick way to buy items and refresh the page without having to move your mouse around and be slow. Some attachments can hold many other attachments and devices. AKS-74U gas tube, the XRSU, the Goliath. There are quite a few of these in the games, and some people actually will bring one of these into their secure and just fill it with attachments they loot. Very good use of space. You won't be able to use this on like the modding tool for the gunsmith. Very good use of space, and they hold loads of attachments. Wishlisting items can save you a lot of time buying kits, restocking of something, or something you just buy quite frequently. Having it on the wish list can just save you loads of time. If your eyes are shit like mine, this little fella in the middle of the screen will save you. And if you drop something on the floor and you can't find it, he will save you as well. This little dot pops up when you're near something you can pick up or interact with. The range at which this dot will appear increases with your perception skill. Don't get caught out buying scav quality goods. There are filters on the flea market, so if you want to buy something you know is brand new, you can do like 99 to 100. This is really good for buying, you know, stuff like fuel or meds that expires, but also seeing what the prices are like for the thing you want to sell. Say you want to sell something that's half used, you can go filter by half used stuff and see what the price is, so you're selling for a good price. This is an easy thing to get caught out with a few times, but armor on the flea probably doesn't have plates. You might see an armor that's got high number durability, but it's actually just the soft armor. There's no plate, so be wary of this when you're buying armor. It probably doesn't have plates. You can dismiss these handbook notifications. You don't need to go and click on every single thing in there. Just click it. It's gone. If you're in a serious pinch, you're about to miss your bus, you have to very quickly top up mags, heal, and get the fuck out of here. You can min-max this a little bit with some overlapping. So what you can do is, while medding, the med animation will go on a little bit longer than might necessarily be needed to heal you. So what you can do is heal. The second you see that you've stopped healing, your limb is full, you can then pack the mag. It will cancel, it will overlap, it will kind of cancel the heal. You'll start packing. The second you're ready to heal again, just heal again. It'll cancel the reload, but you can kind of overlap the healing and the packing of mags. This is if you're really in a pinch and you just need to pack mags and heal quickly and get the hell out of there. But I do this a lot. It shaves off a tiny bit of time, but you can just overlap packing mags and healing a little bit. Things like trackers, compasses, rangefinders, multi-tools, and cameras can all go in the special item slot, and you will not lose these items if you die. Once you've fully built your gun, it can actually be kind of tricky to understand how you actually assemble it and buy all the parts. Most of this you don't need. You're just going to hit assemble. These are all the things I'm going to buy. Yep. If you want to save, yes. It's going to go trader first, but the traders aren't going to have everything you need 99% of the time. So untick traders. Then you're going to buy from traders and people who have stuff listed on the flea. Purchase all, yes. Hit skip to go back. Assemble. There you go, there's your gun. The icons and borders you see on items can mean different things. The check mark means that it's found in raid. The yellow check mark means it's for this quest. A blue outline means it's wishlisted or it's for a hideout upgrade. If it's a hideout upgrade, it has this little icon here. And if it's wishlisted, you have to set a category so it will show the icon of that category, which can be really handy. You can very quickly pin and lock loads of items in your stash with one click. These two buttons down here, you can talk between pin mode and lock mode. But you can also just press P, and I'm in pin mode, L, I'm in lock mode. So if I go to pin mode, I can just click, 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 and pin everything in my stash, meaning that when I use auto sort, it won't get jumbled around with everything else. Now if I auto sort, all these items stay in place and everything up here is sorted. If you need to move a lot of items into a junk box, it can be really slow to sort of drag one by one like this, and if it's kind of halfway down your stash, it's kind of tricky. What you can do is open up the sorting table, drag the container into the sorting table, and then easily just drag all the items into the box. If you want to level weapon repair, fix broken scav guns and use the repair kit. You can preview the clothes Ragman has with and without the gear you're wearing, so you've got to make sure the drip's on point. You can move this little stats window in the gun modding anywhere. Doesn't have to be in a really annoying place. Put it in the middle, get out of the way. You can check the ammo of a mag you've looted by dragging it. Rather than inspecting it and counting the bullets, just drag it up and down and it will say how much ammo's in it. Don't go rummaging through your ammo boxes trying to find your ammo. Load mags from the menu. You can right click and just load and select the bullet and it will fill it up. This also means you don't need to keep your ammo boxes super tidy because you can just load them from outside. If you're selling lots of the same item, make sure you tick the auto sell all. It will sell everything of that item that's the same quality, same run and raid, whatever. The edit gun preset will show you everything available for that gun on the flea, on the trader, everywhere. Modding will only show you stuff in your stash. So if you want to mod a gun based on like loads of attachments you've got buried in backpacks and tack rigs all over your stash, modding is really good for that because it'll pull stuff out of your containers. You won't have to buy anything. Adding tags to your containers, your mags, ammo boxes, stuff like that can really help you organize things and help finding things a little bit easier. I normally mark my ammo boxes and my junk boxes. Page up, page down will go up and down the stash. You can equip items with these little drop down arrows on each part of the PMC, which means you don't need to forage through your stash. If you keep things buried in backpacks or bags, tack rigs, whatever, you can equip things quicker. There's two ways to bind things in the tack rig in the pockets. You can either hover and press the button or drag it down to the key slot. Items in your tack rig and your pockets will get used from left to right, so keep that in mind. Where you position them, put your best mag top left. Early wipe, I suggest getting a med bag instead of a med box. The med bag holds one less item. It takes up more space, but it costs like 1/10 of the price. If you're a bit of a hideout goblin, you can save yourself a lot of time, a lot of scrolling to get to the right craft by searching and favoriting crafts. Favorited crafts will go to the top. If you're moving items around and you want an item to go specifically into your bag or your tack rig, you're in a bit of a rush, you don't want to precisely place it, just drag it onto the actual bag or drag it onto the actual tack rig and it'll go in there and it'll put it in there without you having to specifically place it. Blessed Nikita recently bestowed upon us a huge quality of life feature, allowing us to sort our stash while we're matching. Huge. You can click on these prices up here and it'll pre-fill the text rather than having to type in when you're selling stuff. If you want to see what future hideout upgrades to work towards, you can go down the bottom here, scroll, find the one you're interested in and see what the requirements are and how to get to that hideout upgrade. You can equip items directly from your returns if the slot on your PMC is free. A little tidbit pre-raid, just check your armor plates. It's very easy to go into a raid and forget like a back plate or something. Just check your armor plates before you go. When you're using mag presets, you can actually select multiple mags at once and load all of them in one swoop of a preset. If you're using the air filtration from the hideout, you can actually take out the air filter when going offline to save them getting used. While you're loading into a match, you can actually peek the tech of your teammates.
So, juice time.
We are the developers.
And we are kind of moving to the right direction, you know, like the end is near.
Alright, next up we're going to jump into player movement. First of all, you can adjust the height of your crouch with the scroll wheel or walk speed, but this is a huge feature I miss when I play other games, is the ability to adjust my crouch height. Like if you just want to look for a little gap, you just can't. So it's a really nice feature in Tarkov, really powerful. Being underweight drains less stamina, makes less noise, and it trains your endurance skill. Players are like dinosaurs, they can only see movement, so sometimes just being still will stop you being seen. You could be sitting in a very obvious position. If you don't move, people won't see you. Sprint less, especially if you're solo. being heard is pretty much as bad as being seen. If you're getting shot at, relocate, assume they could also relocate and avoid repeats. Far too often I see people looking directly at where they just got shot from. Most people will relocate unless they're stupid. Assume people are relocating and think about where they can move to. Don't get caught with your pants down. Never use all your stam. You might need to run. I never use the last quarter of my stamina. You never know when you're in a field, and I just need to run very quickly into some kind of cover because I started taking shots and I was out of stamina. So never use all your stam. Don't hug walls, don't walk on top of hills, and try and keep your silhouette low. Like, us humans are insanely good at spotting shapes of other humans or rats. Try and keep that silhouette low. Break up your silhouette with trees, bushes. Think about your surroundings. Think about how you are against the thing behind you. Try and break up your silhouette with other objects around you. It sounds silly, but move in the shadow. It's actually way harder for people to see you if you're moving in shadow. Even if it's just a forest, tree line, move in the tree line shadows rather than in the light. It's way harder to see you. I know you want that golden Zibbo from dorms, but hauling your ass from the ZB spawn all the way there is a surefire way to get absolutely deleted. So don't sprint across the entire map to get to your quest objective. Unless you get a great spawn, then do it. But you'll probably die along the way. So just take your time, play out the raid, and then get to the place you need to go. You will survive much more. You think you're sneaking through a bush, but literally everyone heard you. Remember, you can't run through bushes. They make so much noise even when you're walking super slowly. They are like crisp packets on twigs. They're so loud. Everyone heard you walk through that bush. Some obstacles you can get under and over very quickly by sprinting, tapping prone, and getting straight back up. This used to be really good for trains. Some of the trains don't seem to work anymore, but you used to be able to sprint, prone, up. This still works for pipes, so there's certain places where this will work, but just remember you can like go prone and go straight back up because you kind of throw yourself under when you go prone when you're sprinting, so try it out. Jump through bushes. They're really slow, they slow you down, especially if you're trying to get away. Just make sure you jump through bushes because you won't lose any speed. If you're about to be in an engagement and you've got a big backpack, you can bind a quick drop. So you move faster, jump higher, just drop your backpack. You will have a much better time fighting that engagement. Being heavy in a raid will make you make more noise when running and slow you down. You've looted reserve. You're stacked with loot. You're tired, you're hungry, and time's running out. Your stamina's draining, but you have to keep moving. You have to crawl. Crawling will, most of the time, keep gaining stamina. So you can walk, run, prone, crawl, and then get back up and keep moving. Don't try not to do this in the open, but when you're desperate and time's running out, you have to keep moving. You have to then start crawling like a worm, get the hell out of there. Learn the spawn points on maps. Experienced players know exactly where to look. They know exactly where you potentially spawned, and they probably know exactly where you're probably going to be moving. So learn the spawn points of all the maps and understand that they could be coming towards you. Try not to be overweight when entering a raid, especially on any kind of medium to big map. If you're in that raid for a while, you're seriously going to run out of energy and hydration and you're going to suffer. And then any loot you pick up, you're going to be even heavier. Other players will hear you. Everything you do, turning, reloading, checking mags, healing, looting, everything makes noise. Say you're being aggressive, you're moving around, you're trying to push a guy in a building. You need to move fast, aggressive, but also stop. Make sure every now and then you stop and listen to what he's doing. Try and get some info, because if you're running around making loads of noise and he's just still, he's got info, you don't. You have to get info. So make sure every now and then you need to stop and listen. Don't just run around everywhere. Try and get info. So for the scav mains out there, you can go prone while looting the airdrop loot crates at the same time, and a lot of other loot things that force you to be crouched. You can prone if you time it right. If you're taking fire, try and look down. It'll reduce the visibility of your head hitbox. Also lowers your head profile if you're trying to get behind cover. Sometimes you can get behind cover and your head's still visible. Actually looking down will get your head down. And also it can help you get through windows, because it actually reduces your hitbox. If you're trying to loot someone you've killed and it's a bit of a spicy looting area, it's a bit of a risky play, throw some of your gear in a safe place, like your backpack, your tac rig, run over, grab their backpack, grab their tac rig, grab their gun, and then go back into cover and sort the loot out. You don't always need to loot where the body is. You can transport that loot into a safer location and loot there. Pay attention to what doors spawn open and close. This can give you huge information about player movement. If a door is open that spawns closed, you know someone's been here or they are here. Then it gives you a little bit of a heads up and you can be prepared. Being overweight trains strength skill, as well as stuff like throwing grenades and melee attacks also will train the strength skill. Labs actually has an in-game map to show you exactly where you are. Don't stand still. If you're not in cover, and you're in the open, you got no cover, you got to dance. If you're trying to like scout something out or look for somebody, you got to dance. You can't sit still. Countless times I have not been able to take a guy or take a shot because the guy has not stopped moving. If I'm at range and I have one chance to take a shot, it has to be a clean shot. And if you're dancing around, you won't get the shot. You won't get the shot. So if you're out in the open, you got to dance. Avoid proning in awkward spots. It can really screw you over. It can limit your movement. You can get stuck turning. Unless you're like in a corridor aiming at a door, or you're like in a field laying on like a hill or something like that, I really would just avoid laying down at all. Prone is kind of janky. Understand what quests other people might be on will help you understand their motives, their plan, location, their position. The clothing can tell a lot. If you see a guy wearing a shanker and a shotgun, you know he's out there hunting PMCs, so you can kind of get an idea of how he's going to play. So try and associate people's clothing with what they might be doing. You're in the woods, mind your own business, and suddenly you see a guy staring at you. You're not that guy. If you see someone staring at you, don't try. It won't work. Fucking dip, run, dip, dodge. Get the fuck out of there. He's already aiming at you. You will die. I know this. Unless he's trash and you have no cover, you gotta run.
And I will stop it right here for the short juice time break. Don't go anywhere, please. Apply some damage to your brain with our game. Thank you very much.
Now we're going to jump into some economy, sort of questing related tips. If you want to try hard, min-max some of your XP gains even more, you can, when looting scavs or PMCs, you can loot things onto your character and then put them back. You'll get a bonus XP for actually looting the items, not just searching them. If you don't have a key for a quest room and it's really expensive and you can't get it, what you can do is just chill in the raid, play it out for like half an hour, wait till near the end and then go check the room. We did this with when we were doing Kappa. There was a really expensive key for one of the streets offices. We couldn't get the key. It was really rare, very expensive, like more money than we had. So what we would do, we'd go into the raid, we'd literally fire up some random Discord game for like 20 minutes, then we'd go check the room. And if it was open, it was open. If it wasn't, we'd leave. And eventually, I think after like 5 attempts, we got the key. We got the room open, then we got the quest done. So if you don't have a key, get to the location late, it might be open. Arena can be a great way to level and make some money and transfer to the main game, as long as you're not too trash, because you still need to win. But that can be a great way to transfer some money over to your main game. A lot of quest items can be crafted, meds, food, the ice cream cone magazines that might need to be found in raid normally. Depending on when this comes out and the status of found in raid, things you craft will have found in raid status. Because Fence is a cheap bastard, he won't give you much money for anything. So if you have a low durability gun that you can only sell to Fence, disassemble the gun, sell all the parts to somebody else like Peacekeeper or Mechanic, then sell the receiver to Fence. And that's all he deserves, he's a cheap bastard. Try and think of loot as value per slot. You might find a big item that's 2x2, it's 4 slots, but it might actually be making you less money than 4 smaller items. Getting the fleet at level 15 is when the game really opens up. You can make buku money if you know what to sell and what to hold on to. Early wipe, things like bulbs and bolts. Sometimes fuel can be really valuable, and if you have some and you're not in a rush to get the hideout or a quest, you could also sell that shit and then in like 2 weeks buy it cheaper and you've made some money. Don't throw away your empty fuel cans or almost empty meds. A lot of crafts will take a med item. If it has one use, it still has value, or items like fuel tanks could be used in crafts and other things. So there are certain items that even if they're fully used, 0, or they're almost used, they still have a lot of value. Some barters will save you a lot of money. There was one wipe where setup got tweaked. It was brutal. It was 15 PMCs. You could only get like buckshot. And we died so many times doing this task. But we did save money by trading Slicker's bars for the scav vest. There's lots of things you can do like that to save a chunk of money by using the barters. So pay attention to barters. You can save a lot of cash. If you have a quest where you have to pick something up from a raid and then take it to another map, you don't have to go to that map right away. You can actually move that item into your stash, go do different maps, and then when you're ready to go to that map to plant the item, you can put it back into your in-raid and take it with you. So you don't have to do things in a certain order if you don't want to. Maxing out skills gives elite perks, some of them really interesting, or special reloads for guns if you max out a gun skill. Maxing out strength, for example, means that anything you're wearing doesn't count towards your carry weight. There are loads and some of them are really cool. Save yourself a little bit of stress when you're looting things in raid. If you use the wish list system, it will highlight items in raid when you're looting. So you can wish list all the good ammos. So when you go into a raid and you're looting ammo and you're like, is this ammo good? If you've already done the work and you've highlighted it, that'll tell you if you need to take it with you or not. This can be really good, a really efficient way to know what is worth taking and what's not worth taking. Check all the ammo box spawns in the game. Some of the best ammo in the game is on the floor in raids, and it can be very expensive to buy or not buyable at all. So always check these ammo boxes on the floor. You never know. You're going to want to try and get early wipe jump boxes as quick as you can. I usually end up with 3. This isn't financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, but if you buy junk boxes, you can actually sell them back later and not much of a loss, only like a couple 100k. So I tend to get as many junk boxes as I need so I can just chuck loot into them. And then when I've like started to empty one of them, I'll sell it back and I won't even lose that much money. Like I lose like 100, 200k. Early game, you're going to want to spread your trader money evenly. Each trader has a set of requirements. So, you know, one will come at level 14 and 15 and 16. So you're going to want to make sure that the one at 14, you've spent the money with that one first, and then the one at 15. So you're not, there's no downtime between when you could have unlocked it and spending the money. Traders like Therapists and Prapper will level up a little bit by themselves because of insurance and the healing. I wouldn't worry about Peacekeeper too much. You're probably just going to want to buy a chunk of USD when needed. Make sure you check the traders and how you're spending your money evenly. Some items actually have more value to the trader than they would on the flea, so always check. A lot of the streamer items or high value items will make more money at like Therapist than they would go for on the flea, so flea isn't always the best money. The Red Rebel is seriously worth it, but you got to do the barter. Don't just buy outright. The barter is a lot cheaper. The Lighthouse Mountain extract, the Shoreline Cliff, Reserve Dome is the best one. Not having to go down the fucking D2 and clear all the rats out of there. The D2 dome is worth the Red Rebel alone. It actually makes Reserve much more enjoyable if you have the Red Rebel. Ammo is more important than mags when looting. Take the ammo and ditch the mags to save space. Rotate items with the R key. You can quickly add items to the sorting table with shift click. You got to stop hoarding rubbish. If you have cheap mags that can be bought for like 2k, don't let them fill up your stash. Don't let them fill up your mag boxes. Sell the shit that is cheap that you can just buy anytime. Save yourself a lot of space. Traders will pay differently for different items. Fence is the worst. He's a cheap bastard. But make sure you check all the traders when you're selling items because they will pay different amounts for different items. Eventually you'll get an idea for who is buying what for the most money. I won't say what here because it might change over time. So just make sure you check and you'll get a feel for who's paying what for what. Always check the barters on traders. Some barters are really good value and some of the pre-built guns actually have really expensive mods that you can get very cheap for a barter. So always check the barters. There's some really good stuff. A money case actually only gets you one extra slot over 3 docs cases and it costs way more. So especially for early wipe, you're going to want to go for 3 docs cases over the money case. But also the docs cases can be used in many more ways and hold way different things. So money case is actually not that great a value. It's just convenient late in the wipe. So some quest items don't need to be found in raid. Now depending on the status of found in raid when this video comes out or when you watch it, this could be very different. Right now, finding raid isn't really a thing. They're testing it. I don't know if it's going to come back in the next patch. But things like the MP133 shotgun, you can just buy from a thing and hand that in for the quest. M67 grenades, you can just buy and on the fleet and sell and give it to the Prapper quest. So check the traders, check the wiki. Depending on the status of finding raid, a lot of things won't need to be found in raid. They'll say on the quest if they need to be found in raid. Just check, because you might be able to just buy it and do the quest quickly. If you're doing a task where you have to run a certain gear or gun repeatedly over and over, I highly suggest just making a gun preset, make a gear preset when doing this task. You'll save yourself so much headache and bother. You know, you can make a really optimized, like cheap setup build and then just quickly load it, go straight into the next raid, less downtime, less faff. If you're looting and you're really tight on space, you don't need to take the entire gun. Most of the value on someone else's gun is going to be in their suppressor, the sight, the optic, the attachments, and the ammo they use. And most times the gun isn't actually the valuable part. So if you're tight on space, loot the attachments, not the entire gun. A lot of tasks aren't actually worth doing. If you've got enough rep with that trader or the task doesn't lead to anything else, you know, you don't need to do their loyalty task. If you've got enough sniper skill, you don't need to bother doing mentor. So check the wiki. There are tools out there to help you track which tasks are actually needed for something like Kappa, and there's another tip for that in here.
Well, let's drink for that.
Fix the server. Fix the servers.
As some of the people say, these animations give me boner.
Right, on to the next category. We're talking about gunplay. And the first gunplay tip is grenades have different timers. Longer timers mean you can throw further. So an M67 has a good 5-second timer. You can launch that bad boy and really get people to move. It's going to bounce around. Stuff like a VOG though is like a 2-second timer. That is the kill. You launch that in a room, it's blowing up instantly. So depending on how you want to play and what you want to do, different grenades having different timers can be used totally differently into your advantage. You can do slow lean to hold angles. If you're holding a corridor for quite a while, you can just slow lean over. It will sit in that position and save yourself holding lean. Make sure you top load your good rounds. Mag presets exist and they save a bunch of time over doing this manually. So you can select a bunch of mags. I can go, I want these bullets at the top 5 and then the rest to be this on loop. And you'll pre-fill all those mags and they're all top loaded. So especially early on, this is a really efficient way to use your limited ammo supply. Make sure you bind a check fire mode to a button rather than switching fire modes to check. This is a really bad habit some people have where they'll switch fire mode to know which fire mode they're in. It makes noise, and also check fire mode on most guns is silent. So I actually have check fire mode on my mouse, and I constantly press it so I know which fire mode I'm in. Another sneaky tip to stay quiet is some guns will let you change fire mode during the check fire animation and it'll be silent. So you can hit the check fire mode and then hit the switch fire mode button while it's animating, and it won't make the noise of switching fire mode. Shoulder peeking on the correct side will show a lot less of your body than peeking on the left while the gun's on the right. Unbind the emergency reload. It will speed up the normal reload rather than the game waiting for a double tap of the emergency reload. So make sure you unbind emergency reload and just have reload on off. We've all done it. We've all gone into a raid with the wrong ammo, but be careful not to load the wrong ammo into your mags. Some ammos and mags will go in the wrong gun and you won't know until it's too late. It's especially easy if you bring spare mags and you right click the mag to load ammo into that mag. You might load the complete wrong ammo, so just be wary of certain guns. Like some mags don't just take one caliber of bullet, so just be careful. That's where you'll get caught out the easiest, is your backup mags having the wrong ammo. If you're unsure which ammo to use, I suggest going to eftammo.com. It gives you a nice breakdown of all the ammos and a nice like chart of their effectiveness against certain armors. You can now see ammo penetration in Tarkov. I typically run bullets with at least 30 pen or over 30 pen early wipe, and then later into the wipe I probably want to run ammo with at least 40 pen. That's kind of my go-to, off the top of my head, pen guide. Bullets are more important than the gun most of the time. I'd rather run a shit gun with a great ammo than an amazing gun with shit ammo. It only takes one clean, good round to the face to drop a guy. Never swing a corner or break cover without your gun up. I see too many people swinging corners just before the healing is done or just before the reload is done, and it can be deadly to not have your gun ready to shoot. Grenade launcher grenades have a minimum arming distance, so keep that in mind if you're at close range. You can select a specific grenade with the scroll wheel while holding down G. Do not pull a nade if you can be pushed. You won't have time to put it back in and get your gun out. I've done this, we've all done this so many times, been killed, and I've killed people with this so many times. You know, you're in a close quarter combat, you're in dorms, and you hear the guy start pulling the nade, you rush him, he's completely fucked. He's got a grenade in his hand, he can't even throw it, can't get his gun out, and he's an easy kill. So if you can be pushed, really be careful pulling out grenades or medding. Grenades aren't always to kill. You can force enemies into cover while you get a better angle. You can force people to move, to push, to relocate, but they're not always to kill. Make sure you're point firing, getting comfortable with point firing close combat. The Tarkov doesn't have a kind of classic video game cone of fire like a lot of other games. The guns just come out the barrel, and it's not hip fire, it's point fire in Tarkov, and it's just as accurate as if you're aiming, especially with a laser. Very accurate. So if you're in close combat, make sure you're point firing. It can feel nerdy or a bit try-hardy, but if you pie rooms correctly and clear corners properly, you will die a lot less and you will win a lot more. So try and use some of those real-world tactics that you see people use. It will actually work in Tarkov. Never use a low durability gun. Accuracy decreases and the likelihood of malfunctions goes through the roof, as well as when suppressors get really hot. Malfunctions will get more likely. Sometimes you can save yourself replacing the entire gun by just replacing the receiver for cheap. Look on the Flea, or some traders will have a receiver that's 100% durability, be very cheap, with your entire gun furniture onto that new receiver, and you have a whole new gun ready to go. Always be aware of your ergonomics on any gun you're building. Ergonomics governs ADS speed, the noise, and the arm stam drain. If you've ever used a FLIR or a kitted SVDS, you probably understand how important ergo is, because you can't fucking aim when you're trying to shoot someone. Pay attention to your ergo. Guns don't really need to be as meta as they used to be anymore, since the recoil is kind of nice now. Use whatever sight you're comfortable with, use whatever gun you're comfortable with. I'd say you're better off using something you're extremely comfortable with and you enjoy using and practice with, over like some meta gun that you don't even know how to use or you'll be kind of inefficient with. Impact grenades have a minimum arming distance, so be careful when you're using these bad boys in close quarters. They may not do shit. You can prep a nade without it blowing up, so if you pull out a nade and you switch back to your gun, you'll put the nade away. You can also use this as a risky bait. So if you want to pull a nade in a kind of close quarter situation and instantly switch back to your gun, the guy might hear your nade, try and push you, and you might have your gun out ready. It's a risky bait move, but it is possible, so be wary. Bullets in Tarkov come out the barrel, not the scope. Lots of video games have this kind of, the bullets might come out your chest, the middle of your face, your eyeball, the scope. In Tarkov, they come out the barrel, so make sure you actually have muzzle clearance when you're shooting from behind cover. Tactical devices like lasers can actually reduce bullet spread. Even the IR ones you can't see can reduce bullet spread. You can bind a fix malfunction onto one button, so you can have inspect the weapon on press and check/fix on release. So how you do this is you would hold down the button for inspect. As soon as the reason comes up in the bottom right, you release and it will do the fix. When sniping with a bolty, keep holding mouse 1 after you've taken the shot. It won't reload. You'll stay in the scope and you'll be able to watch that round travel. Then you can see and get kind of zero in where you're kind of hitting high or low. Really valuable for a bolty because they instantly reload. So hold mouse 1 and you can stay in the scope. If you've got a grenade and you right click, you'll underarm throw. This can be really handy if you're in close range because it won't launch it as well. Arena is a great way to learn the gunplay of Tarkov, which is quite complicated, and just practice. Also on wipe day, it might be quicker to get going when the servers are kind of cooked on normal EFP. Arena servers might be a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more fast paced, where you can actually get into a game and just start earning some XP and make some progress. Be aware of where your lasers or tac devices are. They can really give you away. I have dodged so many deaths by seeing a laser either like on my friend in front of me. I see a laser on his back, or like a wall near me, or I see a laser shining across the map. Lasers are amazing, but they can give away your position massively. IR lasers and flashlights are a thing. You might be walking around at night with an IR flashlight and not realize. I've seen people walking around like a bloody lighthouse on a night map where I've got nods and they don't know they have an IR flashlight on or a laser, and it's like you just see them walking around. They're so clearly visible. So just be wary if you've got an IR flashlight, that at night you will become a beacon. You use a lot less stamina if you're mounted on a surface or a wall, and you'll have better gun stability. Be careful, you'll be locked a little bit, but really good for holding angles. I don't know why the guns in Tarkov are made of like solid lead, but they are. And I don't know why a PMC wouldn't rest his freaking elbow on his knee if he's in a crouched position. But anyway, don't just sit in ADS when you're holding position. The arm stam will be a killer and it'll make you out of breath and your arms are wobbly. So if you're holding a position in a building, you can't sit in ADS. So just leave it out of ADS and get ready to point fire and then ADS if someone swings. But the guns are made of solid lead and they're heavy as fuck, so we need to not be in ADS. Peeker's advantage is still a thing, and so is desync. Not as bad as it used to be, but if you're being pushed and you're in a corner or something like that, it is better to just swing out and push and get aggressive back. If someone swings you and you're just sitting in a corner, you won't have time to react. They might be a little like half a second ahead of you in terms of server movement. So sometimes it's better to just push back hard, fight against Peeker's advantage. Height over bore is a thing to remember. So the height of your scope above the barrel of the gun is a thing in Tarkov because the bullets come out the gun and scopes work like scopes. It's going to make you shoot high in CQB, but just be wary of height over bore and test things in the hideout. Gun zeroing is based on one specific bullet out of all the available bullets. So you might not be running the bullet that the gun is actually zeroed for. So your guns might be going high or low depending on the zeroing you have. I would definitely suggest you test this out in the shooting range. So yeah, gun zeroing is based on one specific bullet, and you might have a higher velocity round or a lower velocity round than is actually zeroed. Make sure you take any new gun into the shooting range before you queue, get a feel for it. Anything you do in the shooting range doesn't consume anything, and the shooting range is definitely worth the investment. Just get comfortable before stepping into a raid. You don't want to figure out the gun kicks like a mule the second you get into a fight. Definitely worth it. Chucking a laser onto a GL can really help you aim it. The vertical and horizontal marker as a rough guide. Test this in the hideout, but it really does help aim the GL, just a laser on it. Even though the laser's pointing at the sky, it helps a lot.
Some of the players still thinks that grenade launchers in the game will be like the grenade launchers in any other game, like Call of Duty or something. It will not be like this, guys. Like the grenade launchers, underbarrel grenade launcher, it's like it will be like more serious stuff. It will be not like boom and everybody's like dead behind this bush. Actually, it will be kind of this way.
If you double tap change fire mode button, you'll switch to full auto. So this can be really handy, not even for guns that have burst, but just if you're switching fire modes a lot like me, just being able to double tap fire mode and know I'm in full auto can actually be huge. And it's even more handy with guns that have burst mode. You can just get to full auto quicker. If you want to be any kind of good Tarkov player, you have to harness the power of the sun. And what I mean is flashlights. Flashlights are so powerful in Tarkov. Most players in any CQB environment are going to have a flashlight on when they push you. And you can just obscure your entire PMC behind a flashlight. So flashlights are powerful. You're going to have to use them. You have to just accept it. If one person has a flashlight and the other person doesn't, the guy with the flashlight is at such an advantage that you end up with just everyone having a big flashlight on their gun these days. Variable optics now have a scrollable zoom, not just the toggle between. I found this very good for scanning. So like I might have a 1x6, 1 is too far, 6 is too zoomed in, and if I just scroll out a bit to like a kind of 4x, that gives me the, you know, depending on the environment you're in, you can get a perfectly nice zoom level to scan the area. Even with shoulder swapping and be able to move sort of over to the left shoulder a bit, right hand peaks are still slightly better. If you can choose and you're setting something up, always opt for a right hand peak as opposed to a left hand peak. just throw your grenades. I hate dying with unused grenades. It annoys me. If I get into any kind of engagement, one of the first things I'm doing, I'm just going to throw a grenade probably. Just throw a grenade. Launch them, send them. They're there to be used.
Fucking juice time, baby! Because you know, Tarkov is a pretty good game.
Don't. Just don't.
Next, we're going to move on to some general tips and some mindset stuff. So I think the biggest thing of all with Tarkov is there's always one more. You killed a guy, for sure he has a friend. Every Tarkov player has been on the giving and the receiving end of this. You have to clear the area before you loot. Do not go loot that body straight away. Make sure you're covered. Make sure it's clear. If they have a teammate, they might watch that body for 10, 20, 30 minutes. They might stay there till the fucking end of the raid. Like, yeah, people will watch these bodies and you have to clear the area before you loot. Every Tarkov player has died to this. Pick your fights. Sometimes you are actually just outgunned and outmanned. If you can't even the odds, it is better to survive than die. Leave the loot. It's probably not worth it. Sometimes it's better to just let people pass. Loads of times we've been in a duo and we've even seen like a 4 or 5 man and or something like that, and it's just like, no, even another duo that's going a completely different direction. I'm doing something else, they're doing something else. We'll just, there's no need. So pick your fights, and sometimes you are simply outgunned, outmanned, and it is better to survive. If you're new to Tarkov, it is a must you have the map open on a second screen, your phone, hell, even print it out if you have a printer and no second screen. Knowledge is the key to survival in this game. Every serious Tarkov player, most Tarkov players, know these maps so well, they know them inside out. So don't struggle, open that map. Most Tarkov players know these maps extremely well. You have to have a map open if you're new and you're learning. There's a lot of audio issues and desync in this game. The person who killed you may have heard and seen something pretty different to what you thought happened, so it's not always a cheater. Things happen, the game's weird, you have to accept that sometimes. Record and watch back your deaths to see what went wrong or how to improve. A great way to learn is to die, but then watch it back. If you died, you had no idea where the hell you got shot from. Watch back the clip, you might literally see a guy in the replay in a bush, and now that becomes a bush you check for the next 2,000 hours of Tarkov. So yeah, that is how you learn where people sit and the weird things people do. A good way to think about gear is the gear in your stash is already lost and you don't own any of it, you're just borrowing it, right? How much of your stash is from someone you killed? It's a good way to think about it and try and get over that gear fear. A lot of mechanics, updates, news aren't explained in the game, so make sure to check Twitter, Reddit, Wiki, and Tarkov TV talks about all the upcoming features, which is really cool.
Guys, what the fuck? Like, basically, we didn't change the recoil. Come on. We didn't change it. We didn't change the recoil. We just added some of this, you know, like things, like, okay, fuck it. Okay, we won't do it. Okay. Motion seek, blah, blah, blah.
How you play as a solo is probably different than how you play as a group. Me personally, if I'm solo, I kind of stay low key. I try and get the numbers in my favor, try and ambush or like jump people, but like I keep pretty low key, keep out of the way. If I'm with friends and we're playing as a group, a duo or 3, push with numbers, advantage as a group, flanks, we do, do all kinds of stuff. If you are solo, relocating is pretty important as well. Like if you take a shot at somebody, try and relocate, try and use your small kind of profile and your low numbers to your advantage, because you can kind of go undetected a lot of the time. So play to your advantage, play to your strengths of like your numbers, and you should do pretty well. Check the Escape from Tarkov YouTube channel. They actually have loads of really cool guides and like how-to and intros into some of the systems like medding, and they have some really cool videos on the EFT YouTube. Check the ref trader. At the time of this video, 40 GP coins will get you a key tool, and a key tool is pretty amazing early wipe. So see what ref's got and try and see if he's got a good deal on some GP coins or some other valuables. If you're playing with friends, it's pretty much a must to share your screen on Discord. Most players are in a group and they're sharing their screen on Discord to keep track of each other. You can look and say, hey, there was a guy over there, or I heard a sound this way, or we're going to go over here, or, you know, just to verify where each other are. But yeah, if you're playing Tarkov with friends, you have to be sharing screen. Hideout upgrades actually give you all kinds of skill boosts, so pay attention to these, have a look, see if there's any you want, because you might not want the hideout upgrade, but the skill boost might be worth it. Use loud noises to cover your movement, so airdrop, rain, gunfire, alarms, all of this can be used to mask your movement if you're trying to flank or get away from an engagement, anything. As a scav, you can kill PMCs, raiders, rogues, but you cannot kill bosses, guards, or other scavs. So Raiders and guards, especially on reserve, can look very similar. So it's worth, if you're playing reserve, it's worth looking at what raiders look like and what Gluhar and his guards look like. Blue stick. They can look very similar and they can actually be in the same area. One will reward you, the other one will punish you. So it's worth noting that difference. Also, can't kill other scavs as a scav unless that scav is a traitor scav. So if you see a scav kill another scav, you can kill him. He's a traitor scav. But be careful, and also don't fall for bait. I haven't seen this for a long time, but there was a period where some scavs would go around and ask you to sort of hit them with a knife because they needed a fracture for a task. They are baiting you, because as soon as you hit them, you are now a traitor scav and they can kill you. So don't fall for traitor scav bait, but you can kill traitor scavs and you won't lose anything. Friendly scavs will normally do a voice line when they hear another scav nearby. It's good to announce you're friendly.
Hello, friendly scav. Hello. I'm a friendly scav. Are you a PMC or a scav?
I use VoIP to find out who they are. So typically, if I hear someone in a building I'm in, I'll hit F1 to do a voice line. They'll do a voice line back. If they don't do a voice line, I might get on VoIP and say, hey, are you friendly? If they still don't reply, I'm assuming they're coming to smash me. So I'm either going to dip, or depending on how juicy I feel, I might go for the fight. Try and figure out who they are and whether you want to be involved in that. Some people are shady. It's insane to say, but most people would say the first 500 hours of Tarkov are kind of the tutorial and you learning to understand the game. So if you're within that first, like, less than 1,000 hours, 500 hours, set your expectations that, like, people just are so much more knowledgeable and experienced at this, and it's very hard. If you thought you heard something, 9 times out of 10, you did hear something. A lot of times, if you hear something, they hear you, everyone stops moving. So you thought you heard something, now it's silent, no one's moving. This happens, like, all the time. So if you thought you heard something, you probably did, and they are now not moving. Audio in Tarkov is very powerful, so I would just say turn up your game. Hearing stuff is extremely important. Don't damage your ears. Mine already fucked, so it's fine. But yeah, I have my game pretty loud, but not too loud.
What? No. There's a guy here.
Got him. He was behind us.
What?
He was right here.
Oh, I swear I like heard something and I kind of like...
Yeah, I heard a fucking tiny noise, man. Make sure to secure your area. If you're looting a building, opening and closing doors, close doors on the entrances. Like, if someone wants to come in, they have to open a door. You might hear them open that door, giving you a little bit of peace of mind while you're looting, that you have some kind of system in place to be able to hear someone entering the building. Build map knowledge a few maps at a time. You don't need to know labs or lighthouse anytime soon, so just focus on one map at a time in the maps you're actually questing on playing. Have a rough plan each raid. Are we just extracting? Are we questing? Are we killing? Have some kind of rough plan route in mind rather than aimlessly wandering around. Much smoother, much more efficient raids. Try and be aggressive but not reckless. You have to weigh this up. Unless you're desperate for a kill, try and stack the odds in your favor. Force enemies to be on the back foot. Force them to move when they don't want to. Just try and have those positional advantages any way you can. Don't push into a small room with a 20-foot barge pole of a shotgun. You got to know your limits and how to capitalize. If you have a DMR or a sniper, you got to get range. Maybe don't clear dorms with a bolty. You know, you got to know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and how to use those. And don't be a dick to your teammates. Only loot your kills and check the dog tags. If a bunch of you are shot a guy, check the dog tags. Whoever's name is on that dog tag, they get to loot that body. That's how it works. That's the rules. It's fair system. Yeah, you might have pummeled him more. Doesn't matter who got the final hit, who gets to loot that body is the guy with the name of the dog tag. It just keeps it easy, keeps it fair. You can always ask to have some stuff, but that is the rule of Tarkov. Try and keep track of your teammates. Like, actively try and keep track of your teammates. You do not want to hesitate if you're unsure. If someone else is coming around the corner and you're not sure if it's your teammate, you're gonna hesitate, but it's better that you kill that person. And if it's your friend, you can hide his gear than to hesitate and die. There's nothing worse than hesitating and die because you thought it was your friend. And the best way to solve this is to try and keep real good tabs on your teammates actively, but then don't hesitate too much if you're really unsure. Just take the shot, apologize. You could even bring your mate's gear into the next raid to just make it up, or just hide his stuff. That is a better solution than dying and then maybe he dies to the same guy. Don't be too greedy. If you've already got some loot and you see a dead PMC unlooted in the middle of the street, just don't. Just don't. In fact, run. Yeah, I think run. His mate is watching that body. Don't do it. Don't do it. Ask me how I know. Make sure to always keep your head on a swivel. Constantly scan the horizon, ledges, possible positions that you know, bushes, trees, windows. Constantly be scanning everywhere as you walk around. Other players do some weird stuff and they could be absolutely anywhere. No one is safe from a mag dump. You might have a class 5 armor with a sick exfil helmet, but guess what? Matey boy here has a PPSH and a dream, and he's all about dumping on your face. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you are not safe from a mag dump, so be aware of that. So that about does it. That was over 270 Tarkov tips. We made it to the end. Remember, this game is very hard. It doesn't hold your hand. You will die a lot, but it is one of the best games ever made. I love what Nikita and BSG have made. I don't think there are many developers who could pull this off and make a game like this. Tarkov has an incredible vision and team behind it. We all love Tarkov TV vibes and getting to hang out with the devs and see what they're cooking and whatever funny things happen. When big studios try and copy it, it just lacks the passion and freedom. That's why the game is so special, because it's not designed by a committee or in a way to help maximize engagement through like SBMM so managers can hit their quarterly targets. No, it's designed by a team of passionate devs who love what they do and they want to make a sick game, and it's true to that vision. This is one of the best games of all time, in my opinion. I love it. If you found this video helpful, please share it with a fellow EFT player. Please consider subscribing, give it a like. There's a Discord if you want to come hang out. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.